Hey everybody, welcome back to the Warm Up the Bus podcast. This is episode 11. I am Coach Charlie Downs. This is Coach Carrie Strong. And today, what a topic we have today. Every coach wants to talk about this in one way, shape, form, or fashion.
I've had this conversation numerous times.
We're going to talk about the COVID effect on coaching. And man, it has changed the coaching world quite a bit, or it did change the coaching world. It changed it enough that I got out.
The world.
The world. Yeah, it changed
not
the
even
world.
The coach. I would like to, talk to business owners and see how it affected them too, because I imagine they would have similar stories to what we have.
Well, I don't think from a business world standpoint, I don't think the curb to go or the takeout business, I think after COVID, it just I think maybe businesses realized, oh crap, that's a whole nother route that we can go, and people love it.
When Sarah orders her groceries from Walmart or whatever, and they deliver it to the house, we hardly ever go to Walmart anymore.
Yeah, it's opened up this whole new world to everybody that I don't have to go be around people. And the question is whether that's good or bad. Some people, yes, some people are reclused.
Some people stay away.
Yeah, this is the best thing that ever happened. I've been living my life this way anyway, and now it's perfectly normal. So let's get into talking about the COVID effect on things. But I want to start with quote of the day. I'll take the first one today. Hopefully we're going to get a few episodes in. And by the way, I hope you all enjoyed the Nanny Goats food challenge that we did, the 100 muffin challenge. If you haven't seen that video, you need to go watch that one. And I don't know if we should apologize ahead of time, or I thought we did pretty well on that one, considering the gauntlet that was laid down there.
About Conor McGregor, I apologize to absolutely no one.
Absolutely no one. But if you haven't been to Nanny Goats, you got to go try the muffins. I would order 100 of them, and possibly the pimento and cheese sandwich, because I enjoyed that very, very much. I actually saved some room.
The Southwest route.
Yeah, very good. And we got a $25 gift card from them. So thank you, Nanny Goats. We'll be using that up quite a bit. All right. So my quote of the day today is, and I've used this several times with kids, my own kids included, and it's from Henry Ford. And the quote is, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And this may be applicable to what we talk about today. Whether you think you can survive after COVID, or, well, now that we've known we can do this during COVID, we can go this route. Well, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're correct, or you're right.
Right.
And I've always used that as, I hear from kids a lot, I don't think I can do that, or I don't think we can do that. And well, I'm one that, if I think I can do it, I'm going to at least try to do it. But if I don't think I can, if I convince myself that I can't, then I'm absolutely right.
Right. For sure.
But I feel like if I tell myself and I get motivated and I get my mind on something and I feel like I want to do it. Now, obviously there are certain things in this world like, NASA engineering that are probably not in the future for me if I say I can. But I think if I apply myself to just about anything, or I give the effort, especially in sports, I always felt like I can do that.
Well, I've heard in sports, and and our boys basketball team uses it. And I know White Oak uses it. The I believe, right? So before the body goes there, the mind has to believe it can. So kind of piggybacking off of that, if my head's not in it, my heart's probably not in it, and I'm probably not given all the effort that would be required to accomplish it. I mean, think about the 4-minute mile.
Yeah.
I can't remember the guy's name that originally broke it, but forever and ever and ever, the goal was the 4-minute mile. And then he ran a 3:59 something, or 3:58 something, whatever it was. And then within the next X number of years, multiple people are able to do it, because now they know it's possible.
That's a really good point. I think it was Nelson Mandela that said everybody feels like something is not possible until it's done. Something to that effect. You always think that, well, that's not possible.
Well, you think if we went back 100 years and told them all the things that we have, think about all this.
We're podcasting right now.
What's a podcast, or what's a
broadcasting
video?
To 200 people on YouTube right now.
What's a camera, or what's a cell phone?
Exactly.
So you've got to there's got to be people that are pushing the limit to get where you haven't been.
There used to be the commercial on TV about the settlers. You remember that? Don't be a settler.
Oh yeah.
So it was they would come into the commercial. Yes. We're settlers. We've always settled.
Yes.
And that's kind of pertains to this, is don't be a settler. Don't just sit there and go, well, it's always been done this way. Nobody's ever been able to do that. We'll do it. And I think that's crucial for kids these days to have that mindset, and the parents as well. And I really believe that, especially after COVID, because there's certain things after COVID that a lot of people are like, well, we can't do that, or we don't have to do that.
We don't have to do it that way.
That's right, because we can do it like this now. Well, that doesn't always mean it's the better. So if you weren't around in, 1920 school year, the 2019, 2020, we had this thing called COVID that came up in the spring. And I remember we had just finished up basketball season. We were getting ready to go into spring break.
Right.
And, as we were finishing up basketball season, we start hearing about the COVID virus, what it is. And, I'm one of those that I kind of see that and I'm like, okay, whatever. It's not that big a deal. It won't ever get to affect us.
Right.
Within 3 weeks, we are ready to shut down, and we went to spring break and never came back.
Somebody once made the joke, Rudy Gobert was like an NBA player and he coughed on the microphone or whatever and then went like this. And then 2 days later, the whole world shuts down.
Yeah.
And they're like, he must be the best defender ever. He shut the whole world down. But I remember we had lost like third round, and then around the first part of March, and we were at the state tournament and we had watched the first few games. I don't remember if it was Thursday. I think we watched Thursday. And then after the first session on Friday, you start hearing these rumblings. You know how things get leaked or whatever. And so a person that, I don't remember who it was, but there was a buddy of mine or a coaching friend that was there. And they're like, well, I'm hearing that they're going to, after this game or after these 2 games, they're just going to cancel the state tournament. And I'm like, no way. And sure enough, shut it down. And we got hotel refunds and ticket refunds and all the different things that came along with that. And in my opinion, things have not been the same since. So
when in a million years would you have thought that would have happened?
I would never have thought that
on that scale
to that extent. Yeah. You was it 1903? They had the big flu or something like that, and you hear about those kinds of things, but I would have never thought with our modern technology and modern medicine that it would be something that would be that would change everything so drastically.
Just shut everything down.
I mean, just
so much.
And I don't know. I'm not in the medical field. I'm not an expert on any of that stuff. But to think that it was so contagious and so dangerous that was the case that we needed to do that is just it still is hard to wrap your brain around.
Yeah, and I remember for us it was we went to spring break. There were the rumblings before as we were going into spring break. Like, hey, we're going to take spring break, but we're going to delay it for a couple of weeks coming back. Then we're going to delay it for 4 weeks, and then it was like by the end of that week, within a 7-day period, it was we're going to delay, we're not coming back.
Right.
Everything's going remote. We're all going to be on. We have the ability to go on Google Classroom. We're going to do that. The kids need to come up. We told the kids and messaged the kids basically like, we're throwing your clothes out in the parking lot. Come get your stuff. And you can come by and pick up your free lunches.
We had some kids that had access to the internet and electronics and some that didn't. So we would set paper copies of things out.
Yep.
And I know it was something that happened really quick, but I kind of wish the state had given us some more guidance from an educational standpoint, because what if the kid doesn't do any of that?
Yeah.
And I know there's multiple school districts around the state that were like, well, we can't fail them.
Yeah.
But
because of
COVID. We gave them this whole packet, or we sent all these assignments out and they didn't do anything. We're just going to give them the grade they had. Well, then why did we give them all the work to have to try to do? Because is there a benefit for the kids that did do all the work? And it was just, and I know that there's no right or wrong way or whatnot, but man, I just,
and they were blindsided by all of it as well.
When we get to talking about post-COVID, then you look at, what did we really teach them? Not necessarily from a classroom standpoint, but from a behavioral standpoint.
That's right.
We taught them that, hey, yes, you can do this, or no, you can't. You don't have to do that, or you don't have to show up every day, and that's kind of what. We're going to get into.
We're going to get into that thorn in our side.
Goodness,
post-COVID.
Man, it's wild.
The one team that I always think about, and I think he listens to the podcast, is Bernie Martinez at New Diana. Mm-hmm. He was loaded in baseball that year. They were really good. Now that doesn't mean they would have won state or whatever, but probably had more arms. With a pitch count in baseball, he had he
and I have had this conversation.
Yeah, he had really good arms that year. And man, they are just picking up and getting into district play or getting ready for district play. And COVID hits. Probably the best team you've ever had. You're looking down the barrel of, man, I think we can make it to Austin and make a really good run at this. And COVID hits and shuts you completely down. And another guy that I play golf with, Paxton McGarvey, he was playing college golf. And this kid was really, really good. got it completely shut down, and he never really got back to it.
Well, I had a kid the year prior that had the best time in the 400 and 2A in the state coming into the state track meet, and had a bronchial infection, bronchitis or whatnot, the week of the state track meet. So the day he's going to run the 400, that morning we're in an emergency clinic getting a breathing treatment.
Jeez.
And he runs, and at the 200 mark, he's in first place. And at the 400 mark, he's not in first place. He's not anymore. So, after you're all upset, and I felt bad for Dakari, and I said, hey, man, we're going to keep training. We'll come back. Well,
yeah,
we didn't.
That's right.
Because there wasn't one, you know, like we hit that spring break barrier there, and then like they graduated virtually. I don't, all that.
Who knows
stuff.
what
Well,
happened.
I think we did have an outdoor graduation. Everybody had to stay so far apart, and mask and hand sanitizer and all that.
But a kid like that, you're like, man, what could have been right there? How would that have changed his trajectory?
Because in all honesty, he should have been on the medal stand if he hadn't gotten sick the previous year. Yeah. And so now you've got another year under your belt. You know what it's going to take. I mean, he's a hard worker, man. And I just
a bad taste in your mouth about that.
Man, what do you do?
All right, so let's come back the next year. So we get through the spring. That is extremely chaotic trying to manage that.
And then they let us do summer workouts.
Yep, which is,
which was weird. You had to do it a certain way.
That's right.
You had to be outside, had to take a break or whatever, Yeah.
So we get ready to come back in the fall, and things have drastically changed. Like how we can assemble. I was at Spring Hill for that 1 year, and you talk about never getting into a rhythm as the year went on. We were doing volleyball there. The classroom was so different. I told you this before we started recording. We did mask breaks because they had to wear these masks all day. And there's still to this day, there are kids that come up to me that I taught at Spring Hill. I do not recognize them without a mask.
They do this.
Yeah, like they would come up and they go, Coach Downs, and I'm like, I'm sorry. Should I remember you? You know, trying to be nice about it. And like, yeah, I was at Spring Hill. I'm like, oh, I don't recognize you without a mask on. But everything had to be on Google Classroom. So the kids, when we did come back, I think the weirdest thing, I get it, I understand it, but the weirdest thing was you had the option of I can either go back to school or I can stay at home and do it on my own pace.
Well, and this is what always struck me as odd, because you had your standards, your mask, you're 6 feet apart, your all these different regulations. But then we played football on Friday night.
Yeah,
and I mean O line, D line are right beside each other. You're
tackling each other.
Body fluids, breath, sweat, blood, snot, whatever.
But it was outside.
So yeah, I mean, I always thought that was. Like I kind of got volleyball. You're not necessarily as close.
They're spread out. And I can keep them from huddling.
But the football deal, I was like, how do we have to stay X number of feet apart, but we're going to tackle each other?
And I remember trying to take bus rides because we had to have one kid per bus or skip a seat. And during volleyball season. That one volleyball season, I got quarantined 6 different times because, and some of them were so random because I would get a phone call that night like, hey, so-and-so tested positive. It became the norm. It almost became comical how normal it was. So-and-so has tested positive. Okay, well, they went to eat, which this was like, why would you do that? They took 6 girls home and they all rode together. They all went out to eat. One of them tested positive. So they're all quarantined. Therefore, the whole team is quarantined.
Well, you didn't have enough to play or whatever. Yeah.
But I mean, they would. So what I would have to do is I would call D and I would say, hey man, meet me in the parking lot, get my computer. So because it was like a Thursday or Friday night, like I'm not going back. So I just need my computer so I can Google Classroom, and the coolest one was I love to bow hunt and deer hunt. And my deer lease is right across the street from us over here. And the first week of bow season, I was quarantined without COVID. I didn't have COVID.
Dang.
Yeah, it was horrible.
That's a heartbreak.
So the rule was I had to have a daily check-in, a daily lecture of some sort, and work in Google Classroom. Right. Well, I could do that on Sunday afternoon and get that ready. And so what I would do is I would record those out. Well, in the morning, I'm sitting in the deer stand. I'd get down to the deer stand about 9 o'clock, 9:30. I'd come in, do my morning check-in, my live check-in with my kids during the middle of the day, and then go back hunt in the evening. So it was a horrible week. It was bad.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah, it was tough to deal with. But having to do that 6 times really disrupts like your practice schedule.
Yeah.
Those kids from a development standpoint, like just really.
I know there was a couple of times that in the basketball season, we would get a call the morning of, or hey, whoever we were supposed to be playing can't play. They're quarantined or whatever. So we just call them. There was a time where we had to quarantine some of our kids, and it's just a mess.
And I think so let's dig in a little bit about. Let's talk about more of the sports part of this.
Okay.
So your basketball practices, and I think this is going to lead us down to a little bit further what we want to talk about. When you get into those basketball practices, now you have kids who they miss because of COVID. I've got COVID or I'm quarantined. I can't penalize you, obviously. And they're still playing. They're still in the starting lineup. They're still getting their minutes. They're still getting their time. Is that a negative? Do you think that's a negative that came out of this, that more kids saw, like, I didn't have to be at practice and I still scored 20 points in a game, or so-and-so
I don't know.
got to start?
I guess that's the debate, and I was telling you before we started, before COVID, if I had a kid that missed 3 or 4 practices, they were probably looking for a way out.
Yeah.
Right. They weren't wanting to continue to play anymore, or they had gotten really, really sick.
Yeah.
Really sick. And then post-COVID, it seems just like they're just more apt to just miss for whatever.
Yeah. Or the parents allow them to miss.
Yeah. Or
it's not that big a deal.
Yeah. We're going to schedule our haircut appointment for 8th period athletics or whatnot, and I don't know, it may not have anything to do with COVID. At that time I was coaching boys. Now I'm coaching girls. It may have some more to do with gender. I just think as a community as a society. I had this talk with some admin at various schools, and you used to try to get 98% of your kids to school.
Yeah.
That was kind of the target. 98 to 99% was your target attendance rate for the year, and now we can't get 95.
Yeah.
And so the kids that are now, say they're now 9th graders, well, they were 2nd, 3rd grade or whatever. Then they kind of learned in that process, and the parents, when they're learning that, hey, well, I got a sniffle, let's stay home.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily,
Is that out of fear? Like the parents doing this out of fear of, well, I don't want them to get sick?
I'm sure there's 9 million different things that go into all of that. But, your truancy laws have changed a little bit too. So it's harder to take a person to court and say your kid's not ever coming to school anymore, and actually get a judge to provide some sort of punishment or whatnot. But all of that, sports is a microcosm, we always say. And so it's, these, they show up, they don't show up. Hey, I'm not going to be there. I got this, I got that.
Did COVID,
I don't think it helped anything.
Did it train us to, it's not that sports is not a big deal. Education is not
as
a big
important.
deal.
Maybe
even,
so.
Even the education part of that.
And I told Mentor years ago, way before COVID, that I felt like with travel ball, and I think that's something that we had talked about a little bit too, with Google Classroom, with the expansion of technology and one-to-one and all of that, and with travel ball, travel AAU basketball, travel club volleyball, baseball, that kind of stuff. We're tending or trending towards more of a European model, I think, where your school becomes more virtual, or like take colleges. How many online classes can you take at college?
My son just registered, and Monday, Wednesday, Friday, he's got 2 classes, Tuesday and Thursday.
So what's to keep us from going online school and club sport and just public school just not even being a thing anymore? And I hate to say that, and I'm not sure that that's the case. I think there's probably some government, because now the government's involved. There's probably some government officials that would just prefer it to be that way. We don't have to fund public schools anymore.
Yeah.
You pay
it's not part of our budget.
You pay
anymore.
to go to an online school. You pay to go play a club sport.
All you have to have there is a computer and internet.
I wouldn't mind having some AAU coaches or travel ball coaches on here and say, well, what has your practice has been like? Because they do have to pay to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And I think in high school sports, they don't necessarily have, I know it's tax money, but they don't have to pay to play the sport.
Yeah.
And so
they're not forking over additional money.
I'm sure you've heard parents
say,
say, we've put a lot of money into this. Yeah. Okay, right. I get that. But is that an incentive? Is that more of an incentive to show up to a club team than it is to show up to the high school team? And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
I think it is, because they're paying entry fees. They're paying, hotel rooms. They're paying fuel, things like that.
Well, I know my nephew, nephews, they play travel ball, They go all over the place and do all hotel rooms and RVs and all of the different stuff. And it's like, you don't necessarily have to do that for high school sports. If we went on a travel trip, who's paying for the hotels?
Yeah. The school.
The school is. Yeah. Unless the school says, no, we're not paying for that. And you have to do a fundraiser or something. But I think along those lines, the value of sports and maybe the value of a public education is not, it's not as high as it was.
Yeah.
Or at least the perception is not.
I think when you say those two together, I feel like I would lean towards the value of public education has diminished quite a bit. I think people still, I guess, love the idea of sports and things like that. But if they could do online classes and then show up to practice and games, for sure. They would do that a million times out of a million, because they'd be done with their classes by 11 a.m. every day, take a nap, do whatever.
Well, I told Minter, I said, and I could be 100% wrong. Right. And somebody may blast me on here, and that's fine. Sure. I don't care. Okay. I could care less. Football may be the one thing that is saving sports from just going straight travel. If you look at the state of Texas, and, I'm not going to put out my political beliefs and whatnot, but it would seem as though the party that traditionally controls politics in the state of Texas is not necessarily pro-public education.
Yeah, for sure.
And so if you could go vouchers or whatnot and go to the private school or the virtual school or the online school and go club ball or whatever, probably that we could probably lean that way. Football is the one sport that you don't play year round. I mean, if you think about it, what other sport, and I could be wrong, but what other sport is it not necessarily contact, but collision? Yeah. The collision of football prevents it from being a sport where you can play year round and maintain your health.
Right. That's right.
I can play basketball year round. I can play golf. I can play probably field hockey, lacrosse, boxing maybe. But we don't really have high school boxing. But
just in the teacher's lounge.
You get what I'm saying, right? So like, I just worry that that's the trend where I'm hoping that I can get my 4 to 9 years that I'm going to need to retire before that we decide, we're going to, and there's some places that don't have athletics during the school day. There's some states that they don't have athletics during the school day. There are some states that you have to pay to play per your sport at your high school. So we are fortunate there, but I really am concerned that is not the way we're trending, if that makes sense.
So I think that may be a topic that we want to cover in one of our next episodes is
you kind of go down all of the different paths,
is high school sports, would high school sports benefit from a college design? Like how, because you got kids right now who can go in college and never set foot in the classroom. Right. Think about these kids who are making millions of dollars in college.
Here's the other thing. Here's my argument to that. We kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. And this is kind of one of the deals with the virtual school. And I'm not a big fan of virtual, and I'm as guilty as anybody of when I want to know something, I just Google it.
Yeah. Or I chat GPT or Claude.
Whatever. Right. But the college kids, they've been a little more developed, I think, that they can problem solve, and they don't necessarily have to. But if you go to that college model where I can take third grade strictly online,
that's a good point.
What am I really learning? I'm not learning. I'm figuring out how to do all of the technology stuff, but I don't know that I'm necessarily learning all of the mental processes to problem solve, to conflict resolution, to all of those things. I don't think you're learning those social skills.
So I'm gonna save this for another episode, but I've got a rabbit hole we can go down on that one. I'll save that for another episode. So
we could always just film for 4 or 5 hours and
we
just
could
get
chop
into 4
it up.
hours.
Okay, so if you, but let me ask you this: is it easier for a kid, like you talking about your elementary school and your middle school? I get I'm with you on the problem solving part of that, but we always were taught, there's 3 different styles of learning. Is it more advantageous when you have the technology that you don't have, maybe not the hands-on approach, but now with your YouTubes, you've got the visual learner, you've got all kinds of sources for those who can just read and learn, which is not me. I'm a visual, I would have to go watch it on YouTube, and then I can do that.
I'm a tactile guy.
Well, I'm the same way. I want to physically go do it, but I need to see it or physically do it.
If I'm doing a math problem, I don't want to click my mouse to the numbers.
Yes.
Right? Like I want to get a board and a piece of paper or whatever and figure it out. And that may just be a product of our raising.
But I can do that on an iPad now. I can just sit there with an iPad.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, like, it feels like that's where after COVID, like everything has just shifted that way. But you made a good comment about there are schools now who are actually going away from technology because they're seeing the
They'll
damage.
Still have, and I think part of the reason that we had the technology deal, we wanted 1-to-1 was because, hey, when they go to college, when they go into the workforce, they're going to have to use these things. Let's teach them how to use these things. Well, I hate to say this, but I think a lot of times the schools and the adults that are teaching are behind the kids on the use of that technology.
Yeah.
So the kids probably already know how to do all that stuff. So there's some of them that are going and they're saying, okay, we may still have technology. We may still have a computer lab or a Chromebook card or something like that, but we're getting away from 1-to-1. We're not letting these kids do everything. We're going to make them write something down
that's horrible.
with a pen and a paper.
You're spending more time right now regulating what kids are doing on the computer than you are.
Yeah, well, and if you have them write something on a Google Classroom and turn it in, especially now with Chat GPT and Claude and all that, is the work they're turning in their thought and their work? It's to me, it's no different as when we didn't have that growing up. But I could go to the library and get a book about a topic, an encyclopedia or whatever, and I could just copy that down. And claim it as my own, and it's not. We were told that's the ultimate. That's like betting is the cardinal sin in sports, but plagiarism is the cause is the cardinal sin of academics. So
here's another thing that I think, and I saw this semester. So those of you who don't know, I went back and taught for a semester with you over at Harleton. And one of the things that I noticed really quickly was there are a lot of times that I would go cover a classroom or something. Hey, can you go cover so-and-so's class? And they would give an assignment. And it was very apparent to me, like the time needed for an assignment has drastically changed. And what I mean by that is I could give a kid this, hey, here's what you have to do. But if they had a Chromebook, what used to be, that would occupy them for 45 minutes or whatever we needed to do because they had to go find these answers in a book or something like that. They had that thing done in 10 minutes. Now it's crowd control for 35 minutes and controlling what they're doing on technology. And I think that's where maybe teachers are going to be at a disadvantage right now because you've got one of two things can happen there, in my opinion. Either the amount of content that we're able to teach these kids increases or doubles because of the less amount of time it takes them to actually get these assignments turned in and find what they need and do like that. Or you've got teachers that are, like you said, we're behind. They know more about the technology than we do. And we're sitting here trying to figure out how to go, well, I didn't know you could Google that. I didn't know that. And I saw a lot of instances where the day was planned out, but they could have done that entire day in 1 hour.
Well, I do ISS.
Yeah.
And they get in there at 8 o'clock and they leave at 3:40. And they've got an 8-period day. Well, let's say one of those periods is athletics. They're generally not getting in an assignment from athletics. Okay. But the other part to that is, if I'm a teacher and I've got a kid that's in ISS, my plan for the day was we're going to come in, we're going to have a bell ringer, something to start the class with. We're going to have an X amount of time of instruction, right? Whether it be direct instruction or group instruction or gallery walk or whatever. And then you have your independent practice part where the kids they're doing some sort of worksheet, Google Classroom assignment or whatever. Right. Well, when they're in there with me, they only get the one part. So they could do 7 periods of work.
Yeah, and you're giving them a Chromebook.
In an hour. Yeah. And it turns into keeping them away, making them do something else. Hey, we're going to get up, we're going to go do this, we're going to go run this errand, we're going to go here and ask for this.
And I actually heard one of yours, and I remember hearing this. I would rather go to ISS because I get my work done. Yeah. And then they I don't mean this derogatory in any way, but they can essentially kind of goof off the rest of the day.
There's not a task.
Yeah.
That has to be
that's
completed.
What I mean by goof off is not a good
Here's
phrase,
the other part that I thought about when you were talking just a second ago. If you told me I had 10 things I had to get accomplished today, what am I going to do? I'm going to make a list and prioritize. Okay. If I told a kid, just any kid now, and said, hey, you've got these 10 things that you have to do today, and I sent it to them on Google Classroom, are they going to go 1 to 10? Are they going to prioritize? Are they going to skip around? Are they going to click on this one thing and go to Google and forget about the other 9?
I think they would a combination of that. I think they would start at number 1. And the other thing that's going to lead us to is they're going to look at that and go, that's hard. I'm not doing that yet. I'm going to go to number 2.
I was in the room you left at Spring Hill is the one I was in. Yeah. I had the great big interactive TV. I had the bell schedule written big on the side of the dry erase board. And every day I would come in, they'd have a bell ringer. We would go through, it would be related to whatever we were going to do. We would get done with that. We would talk about it. It wouldn't take 5 minutes. Okay. But then I would go through and we'd say, okay, this is what we're going to do today. We're going to have this PowerPoint, or we're going to do this activity or whatever, this an instruction. And then this is our assignment. So we would go through all that. We get to the assignment part. This is what you got to do. And I would have it written down. I would have it posted in Google Classroom, and I would have it on the big interactive TV. And I would go through every step. And without fail, just about every single day, when I finished all of that stuff, what do we got to do?
Yeah. Like they didn't know.
I don't know how much of that is COVID related, is technology related, is whatever, or more of it's just they don't have to remember and recall things anymore.
And that's what
I think sports is the same way.
And I think that it's bleeding over into sports. The I can shut it off because these kids are, during after I feel like COVID and after, all of a sudden these kids were able to spend 8 to 10 hours a day in games and doing whatever. And
in game assignments, we have game assignments
but
now.
They can shut it off if they're losing. Like I don't like it. The gamer's mentality.
Shout out to Coach Miller, who's the superintendent at Winona. He used to call them the reset generation.
Yeah,
I'm losing the game. I just hit the reset button.
I watched my own kids do it. My son, I have one son who games a lot, and he was like, "Yeah, I was doing this and this, so I just shut it off." I'm like, why? Why'd you shut it off? I was losing. We're like, okay, you didn't just want to try to play it out and see what happens? Nope, I'm done. I need a break. I'm like, yeah, because you're losing. Okay, so that's sports mentality. I've seen that a lot. I saw it pre-COVID, but even now, it's like the mentality of stick with it, trust the process.
Yeah.
I feel like we can come back and win, or I feel like we can do this 4 quarters. Like you had a discussion about halftime. Halftime, they're like, I'm ready to quit. If he told the kids we can just leave now and not worry about it, really, they're like, let's go, because they've got 1,000 other things, TikTok videos and Insta-chat and Snapgrams that they want to go make.
And that may be the thing about, like I said, the COVID that we were talking about. It may just be that it gave them more access to those distractionary things like TikTok. Maybe that's what it is.
Yes.
And I don't know. Maybe there's people out there that are studying this, I'm sure, and they got a lot more knowledge and information and whatnot, insight as to what is going on. But I don't know. And that's like, if I'm in a classroom and I say, hey, we're going to find the answer to this question, they're probably going to go Google or Chat GPT or whatever, right? But if we're watching film and I say, who's their best player, they can't Google that. Yeah, they have to see and know that.
You have to actually watch it.
They have to actually watch the film and analyze the film. And you can, I don't know if you kids know this, but I can see how much activity you have on Huddle.
Yeah, it's insane.
And so
you haven't logged into that one time this year.
It's still pending invite.
That's right.
So, and some are great about it. Like I said, I've had kids they'd come in on Monday morning and they'd say, okay,
they knew it.
What's their are they running this play this week X number of times or whatever?
Well, you said one time you were talking about Caden Minner, and I think it was Caden Minner that you had a post that everybody was like, oh man, and he knew. He was like, I got
him.
I got it. I've already seen it. I already know who he is.
Spent the weekend watching it, and was able to process it and say, this is what I think now. Kind of the expectation is that I watch it. And they'll watch it some.
Just tell me what to do.
And they'll lean on me to tell them what they need to know. Well, the problem with that is as you know, in a sporting game, things change, and you may not end up guarding the same person the whole time.
That kid got injured. Now what do we do?
So you got to adjust. And
I think coaches are that way as well. We're getting to where we're the older generation now. We're getting closer to that. I mean, we're young. We're only 47 years old.
I can retire in 4 years.
Yeah, but.
So trying to make it 9.
But how many times have you had younger coaches, and I mean like younger, like 20s, that you have to tell them? I think you mentioned this in a podcast that we did before. It's like, find something to do. There are things that need to be done every day at practice. I always send out a practice sheet. Like, here's what we're going to do. If I'm running a practice, every coach there is going to get a list.
Or here's the thing you can say, hey, will you throw that laundry into the washing machine?
Yeah.
And yes, they might not start it. They might throw it in the washing machine and not close the door and start it. Or they might have, what was I supposed to dry it? Do I know how to do that? Like, I've never used that before. What, like, one of my own kids asked me one time, we have a microwave that also is a convection oven.
Okay.
So when you use the oven, you use the convection oven,
when you're Carrie Strong, you can afford stuff like that. Mine came from Lowe's, $200 countertop.
You have to, when you use the convection part, it warms up, has a preheat or a warm up button, right? So when you use the microwave, do I need to warm that up? And it's a valid question because didn't know, right? Like, I mean, I get that, but things that we take for granted, we're like go throw that in the laundry, go throw that in the washing machine means shut it and start it and whatever.
Well, that's like with my kids. Hey, if you got a little laundry that needs to be done, go ahead, because we got 2 or 3 others that need to do it. Next thing I know, we've got 500 items in the washer. Well, I just have 1 load that need to be done. No, that's 5 loads. The ability to stop and go, that's probably too much.
And
I
you
can't
got your whites and your darks and your everything.
My youngest is the worst. Well, my boys are the worst. They just throw everything in together. Like, hey, whoa, let's separate those out.
I would separate the reds.
Oh, yeah?
But I would throw the whites and the darks and everything in there together. And then you look at it and you're like, why are my socks gray?
Why are they? Yeah.
or
it's not
navy
just reds
blue.
that
I got
bleed.
navy blue socks somehow.
But that's the problem solving and the understanding and things like that. And I think, but my youngest, here's the difference in just my kids, just my own, my oldest, he's just now really getting to where I feel like he Googles a lot, where I'm bleeding off on him because he's using chat and stuff like that. My youngest will Google or chat or whatever, everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
And I think, you may remember this. There was a time, and some of the older teachers and whatnot may remember what was called C-Scope.
Oh, those were the days.
Which was now a part of our TEAC's resource system that we use for our curriculum. But it would literally go in and it would tell the teachers, say this. Mm-hmm. And teachers bucked it. They're like, I've been teaching for 20-something years. Don't tell me what to say. And I get that 100%. And we used it at Big Sandy, but it was a resource for us to use as a guideline. Yeah. And I like being able to have that resource to fall back on. I think now it's not a resource. Google's not a resource that we can fall back on or use. It is our go-to resource, if that makes sense. Yeah. And chat may be the same way.
Yeah, I think chat would be the same way. I guarantee.
And maybe that's what it is that it's just with the virtual classes of COVID and going and being able to do the hybrid classes and things like that. Maybe that is just what it is that we have as a educational staff or our government or whatnot. Maybe that is what has caused that, is that we've started to rely on that more, and the kids just do that because that's what we told them.
Well, they see us do it.
You're going to use this computer in college, so you need to know how to use it.
Exactly.
Well, fact is, probably as a freshman, I'm probably not using that computer in college.
Yeah, probably not.
It's going to be 4 or 5 years old by that time.
Make you buy a new one
100%.
Anyway. So I just typed into my chat, because if y'all don't know, I'm a chat
He's
person,
a big chat
and
guy.
I'm using Claude more now. So if there's a plug I could give, it would be for Claude.
Now, how do you spell that?
Claude. Claude does better for coding. I just built a website last week, thebarndonetwork.net, by the way, if you want to go check that out. But I built that website in 2 days using Claude. And I am not a developer at all, but it can code. I mean, it does calculators, all kinds of good things. So I just told chat, hey, I'm going to teach 8th grade U.S. history in Texas next year, because I always taught history, either 8th grade or 11th grade, or both U.S. histories. And I said, I need you to develop a curriculum to cover all Texas TEACs applicable to 8th grade U.S. history. This would be the U.S. history from exploration through Reconstruction. Design and create this curriculum for me for 8th grade U.S. history. And it's done.
Mm-hmm.
In the time that you made your comment, I mean, it's got Unit 7, Unit 9, sectionalism, Unit 11, Reconstruction, mystery photo, Friday, you got quiz, writing, debate, and presentation. I mean, it's got everything for me. Yep. And it'll go find those resources. But I think the kids see what happens with when the teachers use it, the kids very quickly pick onto it because when a teacher presents this and goes, hey, go do this, the kid Googles it, finds the exact same thing and goes, well, you just got that off the internet. Now, and I remember the first time I saw kids I would give a workgeek or something, and we could give them a Chromebook.
Yeah.
And
they would Google the
so
info
you had to
at
start
the bottom.
blocking that out at the bottom so they can't. They're going to find it. I mean, there's a way for them to find it. But I think when they see us use that, they go, well, it must be okay. And I'm one of those. I'm a technology person, so I don't see if I can have a resource like this that makes me a better teacher. Now, I'm not going to go in here and every day I'm going to do their printout.
You, having taught for a while, have the ability to go in there and vet some of that stuff and be like, okay, I'll use this, not use that, whatever. Yeah. Whereas if I'm just now graduating from college and I go in there and I don't know what the TEKs are,
or moving from another state or something like that,
from another state or whatever, and now I just start going through that as that is my resource.
Yeah.
Without the deal, then there's a difference.
Yeah, and COVID made us do that. COVID made us as teachers do that.
Well, and I think that is why some of these school districts that we're talking about, especially like some of our bigger ones, we're going away from one-to-one. We're going to use technology as a supplemental resource, and we're going to make the kids problem solve and write and try to think. And because if you use that stuff as a resource, great. If you use it to be your end all be all, then who's controlling?
That's right.
Who's controlling the information you're getting?
Yeah.
If I get every one of my answers from Google, then Google is controlling everything I know.
That's right.
And what if Google?
I'm not thinking for myself.
And not that Google would do that, but what if Google decided we're going to make sure that every person thinks X way?
Yeah, exactly.
And every person that gets all their answers from Google now believes X way.
It could definitely
now
do it.
you're affecting. I mean, we're way beyond sports.
Yeah,
we're talking about
get in there and start talking about creation.
And
we'll start talking about creation and things like that, and see which way it goes. And that's because that's the source that they got, or that's the first one I clicked on. And they're not. I don't know if they have the attention span to click various beliefs. And things like religion or others.
What worries me more than that is that do they have the knowledge to know that there's more than one?
That's exactly right. So they got to have the knowledge of it.
Do they know I can go in and find out different things about different ones? Or am I just going to go in and trust this source that says X is right and everything else is wrong?
But then the reset mentality. Like you're 100% with you. Right. Do I have the ability to know that there's other things out there? Do I actually have the capacity to spend the time to do it? And I think that's, I'm not.
What if I get something I don't like?
Yeah, I just reset. This trash. I don't believe that. And sometimes that may be good. Sometimes you get stuff and maybe your brain goes, I'm not believing that. Okay, click. Yeah, get rid of that. But do they have the capability? Which in college you have to be able to take. I remember my education psychology teacher, Dr. Odie. Oh my goodness, Dr. Odie. I had to argue one time, and I hated it. And I was like, this is the stupidest thing ever. But after it was over with, I went, I get it. Okay. I had to argue that the Quran was the official word of God versus the Bible. And at the time, I really didn't know what the Quran was, or the Quran, whatever you want to call it. And so we had 30 minutes to prep this. And he pulled us out, and he was asking for volunteers. I was like, I'm trying to get an A or B or something. I'm trying to get a good grade. So he was kind of weird. I mean, he really was. He was different. But when we were done with it, I was like, that was really unique. So we had 30 minutes. He called us out in the hall, and we didn't know what we were doing. We just walked out there, and he goes, okay, here's what we're going to do. 2 of you are going to argue for the Quran. 2 of you are going to argue for the Bible being the word of God, the true word of God. I'm like, okay, I'll take the Bible. No, you 2 have the Quran. And he didn't know us. He didn't know what our religious beliefs were. He said, but I'm sure because I said that, I'll take the Bible. Okay, you've got this one. These 2 have this one over here. I was like, I don't know anything about it. Well, you got 30 minutes to figure it out. And so we had to, as the 4 of us, try to talk about what each was, and barely knew anything about other than the fact that it reads right to left instead of left to right. Believes Muhammad is, and so I had to go in there and argue that this is the way, the truth, and the life, but I think, like you're saying, if kids had to go do that now, they don't have the capacity to go. There are some that do, but I think most kids at the age of 14, 15, 16 years old, if you told them, hey, let's have a debate about something, they could not do it.
They would find the one thing that they would want to agree with, and that would be what they would use as their resource. And then their ability to vet, like I said earlier, the information that they get and know, I know that's not right.
Yeah.
Like if I was going to use a Bible verse, right, and I went in there and I quoted John 3:16.
For God so loved the state of Texas.
And it was wrong.
That he chose them and only them. Yeah.
You know, like how many would know,
Yeah.
you know, and I know that's kind of a odd example, but everything could be like that. What if I went in and just changed X part of it?
And sticking, I'll stick with religion for just a second. I won't spend too much long on it, but I remember teaching my kids as they grew up. You know, we're a Christian household. We believe in the love and salvation through Jesus Christ. But I would teach my kids as we were growing up, like, you know, don't just go to church and listen to the preacher and go, that's it. I don't have to read my Bible. I don't have to research. I don't have to get my own opinion. I just go with what the preacher says. And we've tried to teach them that of if you believe this, you better be ready to rebut it, because at some point in time, if you tell somebody
somebody's
going to
challenge it.
That's right. You're going to have to sit there and tell them why you believe what you believe.
And you can't just say because Pastor Ben or whoever said so.
Yeah.
Or, you know, we used to have the talk multiple times, like my salvation is not my son's salvation or daughter's salvation, right? They have to have their own, right? So they can't just say because my dad said so, or because my pastor said so, or whatnot. Like that is what and if you're going to believe something, like have the knowledge and the background.
My preacher uses a quote, and I will use it because you said, just because you were born into a Christian household doesn't make you a Christian. Just because you were born in Taco Bell doesn't make you a burrito. You know, that's the way he always puts that. Just because you're born somewhere doesn't make you something. And so I think kids these days, like, they're just going to take whatever the internet, first thing that comes across their internet search is what it is.
That's why these advertisers want to get on the first 3 or 4 things of Google, because how likely are you to click on page 2?
Yeah. Well, I do social media a lot. So I spend a lot of time on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.
What is it called? Your value, I don't know, you got the terms. Your click rates.
Yeah, your CTR, your click-through rate, and you got search engine optimization, all these different things. Well, there are these algorithms that, you know, how long do you stay on there for 3 seconds? How do I keep you on there for 4? So when I create content, when I'm creating our content, the goal is, how do I keep you on there for more than 5 seconds? So because that's what the span is. After 5 seconds, they're swiping, and you can see the analytics to prove it. But there are people in this world, and I think COVID started this, because obviously people were at home more, people in front of the computer, and I've talked to several content creators through those platforms that are like, man, once COVID hit, I just blew up. I was doing this for a long time before COVID, then I somehow blew up, you know? Well, duh, everybody's at home on their phones. Right. But the whole thing is, there are people who spend billions of dollars per day to keep you on TikTok, to keep you on Instagram, to keep you on these.
And they're making trillions.
They're making trillions off of it. But who's spending billions to keep our kids on an educational platform, you know, or to teach them the right things, or not be influenced so much by what? And I think COVID is, I mean, responsible for that, to blame, whatever. I really think the parents, I think it goes back to home, is who's to blame for it, because, you know, they're ultimately get to control.
Well, I saw a deal that said, you know, a child is influenced mainly by 2 things. Number 1, their parents, and then number 2, their group of their 3 closest friends.
Yep. Their circle.
Now their circle, right? So there's other things, obviously, but if I replace my parents, or I replace my group of friends with TikTok and social media and all that, then what am I being influenced by?
That's right.
Kind of along the same lines.
Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see. Be careful, little ears, what you hear.
Yeah.
You know, because then the little mouth.
And I'm as guilty as anybody. Like I
doom scroll all the time, because I mean, I look at barn dominium stuff and all kinds of stuff that comes up there now. But I had a instance with my daughter. It's probably been 2 years ago. I was scrolling through, and all my stuff back then was Barndos. And she happened to just walk right behind me. And because I'm a male and I was 45 years old, I swiped up on one, and it was this half-naked woman on there. And it was a Barndo thing, but it was a marketing thing for like how to get people, you know, hey, come up. And I stopped her and I said, this is why you don't need TikTok right here. Because I'm just sitting here scrolling through, looking at Barndo stuff, looking who's creating what. Yeah. And then here comes this in front of me. They're like, hey, if I can get him to look at that for 5 seconds, well, if I do, guess what the next one's going to be? Right. But that's how they're training you. Like if you, how many times have you,
your algorithm?
I've heard too many stories of people, we had this conversation at home, and then it'll pop up in your Facebook feeds, you know, or your TikTok, stuff like that. It just shows up in there randomly. I sold a Barndo to a guy one time who told me that. He said, man, I'll get up. I've never even said a word about a Barndo. My wife and I said one night, hey, we might ought to sell our house. Maybe we could build one of them barn dominiums. He said, I was up at 2 o'clock in the morning and I watch fishing shows. He said, that's all I watch on YouTube is fishing. He said, but guess what popped up this night after we just had this conversation 2 hours ago, one of your videos on YouTube. And he said, here I sit. And I said, wow, that's impressive. He said, yeah, I ain't never said Barn Dominion Mesa. I said it one time in my house, one of your videos showed up. And I said, yeah, man, they're always listening. Guarantee you.
That's wild.
But I think the way the world changed and geared toward just media, social media content. And I think the other thing that we can go down again, if we're just going to talk for 2 or 3 hours about this, is you've got the bless the parents, and I feel for them because, man, they were thrown into this. They're having to stay at home and work or lose a job or whatever. But it becomes, what do we do with our kid who's at home now 8 hours a day?
Well, and some of them still worked.
Yeah.
And now the kid's at home by themselves for
and they can scan and watch whatever. They can do work or not do work. And this kind of leads us to a lot of the times when we were first trying to manage this, it was like, do you fail them if they don't do the work during COVID, or what do you do? I mean, they're unmonitored. The parents honestly would probably tell you, I don't know what in the world they're watching or what they're doing right now. But it taught a lot of parents that they didn't want to homeschool their kids. I feel like that probably came out of COVID. A lot of parents were like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, you got the homeschool that's not really homeschool. It's I'm going to sign up for this plan, virtual learning or whatnot.
Yeah.
And they can get online and do
my wife taught at Virtual Academy.
Yeah.
And that was one of her online jobs that she did. She taught Chinese kids English in the morning. She was known as Teacher Sarah. And so she would do that early in the morning, but then she worked for Virtual Academy. She had kids that were like Hollywood people and actors and things. And they were all over. Like she had one, she'd wave me over. She's like, hey, they're on an airplane right now over France going on set. But they go in for tutoring, while they were there. So they lived their life and did what they did, their high profile life, but they went in and did virtual school. And I think kids now, I think that's like we were talking earlier, that's almost the mold that we're going to, is that kids can just.
Yeah. And it always just scares me if virtually, like, what am I really learning? Now, some of those kids, like I would, I hate to say that, I would trust my kids that if they were doing a virtual learning, that they would kind of try to at least vet some of that stuff or whatnot. But what are they really, how much are they learning and how much are they regurgitating?
Yeah.
How much are they just plagiarizing or whatever?
And I think we know that we would completely lose people skills. We've seen that just in the last 3 or 4 years of taking a kid to McDonald's and going, put your phone down and talk to the person.
Yeah. Or like if I owned a business and I had an employee that was not going to be at work, I would want them to call me and say, I'm not coming in today. I'm sick.
Oh,
so I had a wreck or whatever else. Right? Fine. Okay. But I don't want their mom to call me and tell me, well, she's not feeling good. She's not going to, if I owned a business, right? I get some of that on the athletic side because they are still adolescents or whatnot. But when they get into that high school, especially when they start driving and they're having jobs and they're going to have to start communicating for themselves. If something happened on the highway, are they going to call mom? Yeah. And then mom call somebody else? Why not just, they need, those social skills need to be developed for sure.
And I think we're getting more to, but going back to I used to hate when I have to tell kids, like, put your phone down and order.
Oh, yeah.
Like, look them in the eye.
Well, now they don't have to.
They don't have to.
You pull up to the drive-thru. And I'm using the mobile app today. My code is JT32 or whatever.
We stopped at a McDonald's for breakfast coming back from Hammond, Louisiana, and they, the kiosk are a big thing now. Like, this lady standing behind the desk, and we go to talk to her, and she's like, "You can order at the kiosk."
Oh yeah.
Like, didn't even want to take our order. We're
and
like,
there's fewer workers.
Yeah. Well, that's better for McDonald's. They're making more money.
100%.
Obviously. I mean, think about how the assembly line changed the world.
And then if the order's wrong, either you put it in wrong.
Ours was.
Or they messed it up.
But we put it in wrong, apparently. Yeah. But they got it right there. But who do you blame on that? No, that's on you. And that's what they're doing. Like, that's not on us. That's on you.
Self-checkout.
Yeah. I work for Walmart. I've worked for Target. I've worked for all these different places checking myself out. Yeah. But that's how the world's going.
Still waiting for them to send me my W-2 or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're an at-will employee. You're 1099 at-will. They can fire you at any moment. And when you walk out the door, you're fired. Dang it. They hire you back when you come in. Oh, you're back. Okay, well, we'll take you back. But that's
why the lady at the front says, welcome back.
Yeah, we're back.
We're back.
If you just stop, I'm sitting here as we're talking through this, like, just, man, in the last 5 years, what has changed in the world because of COVID? Just how we live our day-to-day life.
Well, let me play devil's advocate a little bit. How much has, I know you're talking about like all the different things that have changed, and we talked about kids, and we've kind of blasted kids a little bit on some of the stuff, and that's not really my intention. But I want to go back and say, okay, well, how much of it is all the things that have changed, and how much of it is my perception of things that have changed? Because I've gotten 5 years older, 6 years older, right? So I'm a different person now than I was 6 years ago. So how much of it is my perception and what I tolerate, what I
So have you become softer, or have you become more compliant with everything?
Compliant is probably, and I can go into another quote. It would be a great time to have a new quote, but like, some people might tell you that I'm a butthole, right?
What?
And that I'm
I have never heard that. Please comment if you've ever heard that about Carrie Strong.
I'll promise you, and Larry Minner will back me up, I am way more mellow than I ever was, 20 years ago.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
And
myself
for
included.
sure, 5 years ago also. But I get into, I always think about what we tolerate, we allow.
You always get what you put up with.
And man, I just feel like, I don't know if I just don't want to fight as much, or I'm just tired, or whatever. I do feel like I'm not near as strict as what I used to be. Yeah. And some of that may be a good thing. I may have been way too strict. That's probably for other people to know. And that's kind of where we were talking about some of this when we were talking about what we were going to talk about today. Like, when do I need to be a little more lenient, and when do I need to be a little more stern?
Yeah.
And my deal is, I feel like maybe I'm too lenient until I get really, really frustrated. Then I blow up, and then I go the exact opposite direction.
Yeah.
I struggle because
you're trying to balance it. It's like the stress of trying to balance it, and eventually you just like, okay, I'm done with this crap. I'm going to go off on somebody.
Right.
And it's hard. It's very hard.
And unfortunately, what generally happens is when you have finally had enough, it's the people that you're closest to that bear the brunt of it. The kids that you're around the most, your wife. Yeah. There's been multiple times I've probably come home from work and I've been upset about this or that, and Sarah says something that's not even related to anything, and I just
exactly.
And I just turn into Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde or whichever one the bad guy is. But I don't know.
So I think as we're trying to juggle that, I think one of the things that has made it harder and made us almost forced us to be more compliant, as you would say, is the media part of things, the social media world, that everybody has a phone, everybody's videoing everything. And I don't mean that when I say this, please don't think that we're like, oh yeah, we do shady stuff all the time. That's not what I'm going at here. But I'm just saying, it is so easy for somebody to take something that you said and twist it, put it on Facebook, put it on TikTok, and next thing you know, the school district's getting hounded on. Half the people in the community that don't even know what happened want you fired.
Well, think about it. Let's say a basketball game. Course of a basketball game, 32 minutes of gameplay, generally takes about an hour to play a game from start to finish, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. But you can have a clip on Facebook or TikTok or Instagram, whatever, that's 15 seconds. You may not get the whole context of everything that happened within that hour or the whole day leading up to. But like you said, and then on top of that, to kind of go along the same lines, when that is put on there, now everybody that has an account now has a validated opinion on what happened.
Oh yeah,
whether they were there,
keyboard
not there,
warriors. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they should be fired. Or whatever. Sue the school or whatnot. And I try to stay back from some of that. Obviously, I have a job where I'm in education, and I try not to get involved in a whole lot of stuff online, just because I don't want it to come back on myself or my school district.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the same time, like, the other part to that is I try to stay away from that because I don't know all the details.
Yeah.
Like, if you post something on Facebook, all I have is your side.
That's right.
And I'll promise you there's 2 sides, if not 20 sides to everything that went on. And so I try to contain that. But a little bit.
I think it creates, and I'm going to look at it from the school district administration standpoint, that pressure on them at that point is so heavy. Whereas I'm going to go back to Bobby Knight. Let's go way back. Bobby Knight wound up getting fired and getting in trouble because of random footage that was filmed by a kid in a gym, right?
Years prior.
Had that never been filmed, I mean, probably never. And I'm not saying it was right. Okay, let me clarify. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying, but like that's the first instance that we see that like, okay, some random video of a kid, and yes, we got the perspective, we know what's going on there. But what you're saying is like you get in a timeout or something like that, and you and a kid are having a discussion, and the kid's just as heated, and it's not like you're arguing with them or anything like that. But you know, in the heat of the moment, you're like, well, we got to do this. You know, you got to make sure that you're guarding this way, or we got to force them right. They're left-handed, force them to the right. But somebody with no audio, no nothing, just a video, sees you over there with your hands up, telling the kid this and shaking your hand. All of a sudden, like, how could he treat her like that?
Yeah.
And the kid's probably going, I don't even know what you're talking about, because I've had that happen before. They're like, no, it wasn't anything like that. Yeah. You know, or a parent would come up and say, you don't talk to my kid like that. Like, what are you talking about?
I've had instances. I had a kid one time. This has been a few years ago now, but I was talking to him, and he went to walk off, and I said, "Hey, did you hear me?" And just grabbed his arm. "Hey, did you hear me?" And he turned around and said, "Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, but you grabbed that
I'm
arm.
good or whatever." And he went and said, "Well, that night, the parents calling me. Why are you grabbing my kid?" I'm like, whoa, time out.
Yeah.
I had to go back and like replay what were we even talking about, because to me, I'm just making sure, you know, whatever. But
and usually, if you've, I know I've been in situations where I've done something or said something, and I immediately know, like, I probably could have done that better. Like as a coach, we know that, you know, because I've gone to players after games and like, hey, let me talk to you for just a second. You know, I want to apologize. I mean, I can remember an instance in Hooks. I had a freshman, and she was a really good athlete, and man, I was hard on her. She was a good athlete, and she was a great kid. And, you know, when she would make mistakes, I just knew, like, you're so much better than this. You know, you can do this, you can do this. And it's like I put that pressure on her where she just wanted to have fun, and she was just a great kid. And there were twice during that year, once during basketball, once during softball, that I pulled her aside and I told her, like, hey, I just want to apologize. I was kind of hard on you back there. And because I could see, as soon as I said it, I could just see like the dejection of he's disappointed in me or something like that, and just trying to make sure. But we know when we've done something, you're like, you know, I probably should not have done that. Or I'm not saying like I punched a kid or anything like that, but no, not recently. No, that's why I got out. No. But I think now with the way everybody wants to have their phone out, everybody wants to video everything, and everybody wants to analyze everything. How many times have we seen that somebody posts something and
well, and in the court of, what is it? Court of public opinion? Or court of social media.
Yeah.
And so if I'm on the admin side of that, like, do I want to, and maybe I shouldn't say admin, but if I'm on the business side of that, the financial side of that, whether it's a business or a school or whatever, is it easier for me to just say, okay, we're going to pay you the rest of your contract, you go on out on your way. Will look like to the court of social media that we've taken care of our business, and we don't get sued as a school district and end up having to pay millions of dollars.
That's right. There's one like recently that we were reading on the way back from College Station. It was a Texas school. I really don't even remember where it was, but Sarah was like, oh my gosh, it was like a $1.5 million that was going to cost the district to this person was going to resign, and they were going to let them out of their contract or whatever, pay them the remainder of their contract.
Well, and the thing is, in all honesty, you take a school, like we're at a 2A school, you know, they're not as able to handle a 1.5 as, say, Allen.
That's right.
You know, Allen's fund balance might be, you know, $100 million or whatever. So 1.5 may not be the same to them as it is to save face to Harleton America.
And that's really, you know, we had that discussion. Like, I wonder what that was. Well, they're saving face for something. You know, she or he got in trouble or said something or whatever, and they're just like, hey, we're going to cut ties. Well, you can't really cut ties because I got a contract and I didn't do anything to violate the contract. Well, we'll pay out the contract if you agree to it, you know, and that, but I feel like that didn't happen near as much before COVID, before the world was introduced to, hey, look at all this social media.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it just, the isolation forced everybody to be more right here on their phones or tablets or computers or whatever, as opposed to even here.
Yeah.
You know, so I tell kids all the time, or have told kids, you know, they spend their life and they live in this, you know, 12-inch bubble.
Yep.
And this is what they're focused on, which I get. I was the same way. I wasn't thinking about other people. You know, I'm thinking of
me.
And people probably still would say that about me. He's thinking about him. He don't care
That's
about
all he
nobody
cares about is himself. Yeah.
But the emphasis on the technology, whether a tablet or computer or phone or whatever it might be, maybe that's what it was.
Is it creating a me culture?
Created a. Well, I think it maybe just is exaggerating it or emphasizing it or something. Maybe
making it bigger than what it is. Yeah, making it a bigger deal than what it is.
I mean, obviously, we've both read our Bibles, and people are inherently sinful and selfish.
Yeah,
and
nobody ever had to teach us how to sin.
And so, is it? And even, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, even your Bible you can access on your phone.
Yeah, which I mean, I'm guilty. I take an iPad with me every day when I go to church.
You click on it. Okay. Well, how easy is it to go and push the button?
Romans 1:16. I can go there in 3 clicks.
But then you can also take your little thumb button if you have the button at the bottom, or swipe up and click on a different tab that's not Bible.
Oh yeah, I check the weather before we get out of church.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean,
do you sit next to me or something like this? I literally do those exact things.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, there's.
You have an old phone, by the way.
All kinds of great things online, but they can get lost in all of the other things.
But they are designed to distract you.
They're all.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's the thing is, I would say, of all the things you can find on the internet, I would bet 90% or more are designed to take your attention away from something. You know, like again, how can I keep you on this page longer instead of you going somewhere else?
And we're as guilty as anybody.
When we're trying to get you to watch a podcast or listen, but we just want you to ride down the road and listen or do whatever. Yeah. But it's just crazy to me. And I love technology. I do. I mean, it has completely changed my life in the last 5 to 6 years of how I utilize it and how I use it. And I can only imagine being back in the classroom. I mean, it would be a huge tool to be able to use. But again, it can't be your primary resource. You can't just rely on that. Well, how many good teachers, here's an after COVID question. How many good teachers post COVID said, I'm not doing this because I've always done it this way. I've been a great teacher. I will say
this is what I think. I think you have less teachers staying in it for 40, 30, 35, 40 years. Used to be, you still have some. I mean, you have teachers that would work for 30, 35, 40, 50 years or more. And I'm in that boat. I've got 25 in. I can retire and meet my age of 80 in 4 years. Or I could...
We need you to like and subscribe so we can do this full time.
I can wait 9 years and I can meet my rule of 90 and I get a partial lump sum and all that kind of stuff. And I tell my wife all the time, I say, I'm going to try to make it 9. I'm going to try to make it 9. But there's some days I'm like, I got it. I love it. This is the easiest thing I've ever done. I could do this every day. And then there's other days I come home and I'm like, I don't know if I can make it to 4.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can make it to retirement.
Did you used to, let me ask you this, pre-COVID, think back 10 years, did you have that same mindset of, I don't think I can retire doing this? Or has it been in the last 4 or 5 years that you've been
some of my former students will tell you, I used to have a retirement countdown on my whiteboard, X number of years, days, just kind of tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
But, I think when I was about 5 years in, I thought about getting out and doing something else. And then I got a different job and I stayed in it for a couple more years. And I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to finish up doing. And there's definitely days where you're like, or where I'm like, man, I would do something else, but I'm so close to the retirement part.
That's a hard one. Yeah.
Because every year you work, you get an extra 2.3% of your aggregate in total your retirement and all that. And if I like, let's say I quit right now and I went and sold cars, whatever. Well, now I'm going to wait 8 years before I reach 90 or 80, excuse me. But I'm also going to lose almost 10%, 9.2% of that retirement.
Gotcha.
Per month.
Yeah.
If I go to 90, I can get a partial lump sum instead of having to take the monthly payments from the state, and I can invest it however I want to invest it. And I don't have to rely on the state to send me the paycheck. At 80, I have to rely on the state. They're just going to send me my check every month. 90, I get to do what I want to do with it.
That's right.
Whether it be I'm just going to spend it,
and that's a huge advantage,
and keep working doing something else, or whatever I want to invest it in. But if I leave now, I lose 9.2%, and I
the
don't get
ability
the
to do
lump
that.
sum, and my monthly
You
payments are
lose
going to be
control
lower.
over a lot of it. Yeah.
Well, if I retire, so in 4 years, I'll be 52. I'm about to turn 48, so I'll be 52. Well, if I live till I'm 75, that's 23 years I got to live on retirement, right? Well, that 9.2% is a big difference.
Yeah,
So
a lot to think of. And we've had this conversation before because I got out after 16 years.
Yeah.
And I did. I asked Coach Strong, hey, you want to come sell barndominiums or do you want to come do this? He's like, man, I'm too far into it.
Yeah.
You know, it's a hard decision. And if you were at 5 years or 6 years, it might have been easy. Like, let's go do it.
Yeah.
But now you're 15, 20 years into this, you're like, man, I'm really close. And it's hard to do.
And don't get me wrong, I love what I do. Don't get me wrong.
Most days.
Most days and most of all the days.
Yeah. More days than not. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. And
I think that's every
even
job.
on some of the days where I have bad days, 75% of the days probably great.
There's a stat right now that I want to say it's, I want to say it's between 85 and 95, maybe like 85% of Americans hate their job. Hate what they do for a living.
I think if we were all being honest, we wouldn't work at all.
Oh, for sure. Well, that goes okay. Well, post-COVID, you could just work from home.
Yeah, or
if we were virtual, you could just be a virtual
people
teacher.
To sign on, I can I get enough likes and I get enough followers and I get enough this. I start making money on this stuff, and so it's not really now. It could be a job. This could be obviously.
I'll interject here because I've made a living out of it. I made a living selling barn doors, and things like that. But after a couple of years of it, I started making money off of the YouTube and things like that, and brand partnerships. And it is a full-time job because you're constantly editing. You're constantly going out and capturing video. I mean, it was all the time, traveling a lot. And I think I told you that when I got back into teaching. I was like, yeah, man, it's fun, but the travel is crazy trying to go get content and stuff. But I could easily sit there and make a teacher salary creating content. That's easy. I actually talked to my sister-in-law, Rebecca. I don't think you know her. She's a hoot, man. She's a hilarious and just down to earth people person. And she said something in the car when we were riding. She's like, oh yeah, I call myself Rebecca J. I was like, we should start a TikTok channel with you as, Rebecca J. She's like, oh, I could do that. I said, send me some content. So she's fixing to start filming it. My brain is like, I'll monetize that in no time. Yeah. People would follow her because she's so sincere, just really fun to be around. But I think pre-COVID, you could have never told me that, hey, you're going to get on YouTube and people are going to watch. You're going to have these hundreds of thousands of subscribers and millions of hours of people sitting and watching you on YouTube, and you're going to make money off of it. I've been like, how would one even do that?
Right.
And now, like, my whole day.
Well, now it's a model.
Now my whole day literally is, I got to go shoot content. I got to go do this. I got to go to this job site and shoot content. I walked out of my front yard on, what day did we leave? Thursday. Wednesday, I spent my whole day walking in different spots of my yard, shooting content for my channel, for my other channel, the Barn Dough Network, in case you were wondering. But it is a full-time job. Now I got to edit them, and people get paid a lot of money. Now here's another job. Now you pay somebody just to edit and post content for you. I mean, you can pay somebody $500 to $1,000 a month. They'll edit all your stuff, post it, and all you got to do is create.
My son is in 3 weeks is going to start working at Apple.
Yeah.
And
he's getting a new phone, hopefully, then too.
I need to, so I can 11.
Well, you just said something earlier. You said if you're on your phone and you push the button on the bottom, you just swipe up.
I was thinking about my iPad.
Yeah, but I was like, you just swipe up there, Carrie.
My old school.
It's like, man, your phone is old.
School issued version 1 iPad I use for my timer.
Yeah, when you said that, I immediately went, oh, wait a minute.
But so you swipe up and all your tabs open up, right? But he's fixing to start working there, and his role is going to be software development, some of that stuff, coding and different things like that. But just think about the number of positions that are available in that area based on the demand for all of this stuff.
Yeah. When I was at Harleton the first time, 15, 16, I taught audio visual. Okay. And with this new program that they wanted to use was Final Cut Pro editing software. I went to a workshop and all this, and we bought a drone back then. I mean, it was a cheap little thing that we actually flew down the hallway. The video was terrible, but we did green screen and all this. I was like, man, this is so cool. Imagine if you could do this for a living. Well, we were kind of trending towards kids being able to do that as a career, like in movies and things like that. But it wasn't even a creator was not a thing back then. And
you're talking about 10 years ago.
Yeah. Little did I know that now I edit full-time in Final Cut Pro. You know, I fly a drone and I'm just thinking like, man, who would have thought that in 2015, 16, here I am teaching this class that in 5 to 6 years, I'm going to be doing this full time. I don't
right.
What about the kids? I'm going to be sitting here doing
right.
this full time. But the world, man, post COVID, things have changed so much. And I think that I feel like 5 years from now, 10 years when you're ready to retire, I think we will have a college model of high school in Texas and everywhere else. I think it will be that your courses are online, your teachers, your professors are online,
and your sports are club,
and that's going to lead us down another. We'll take a break here and get ready for another episode, but that's going to take us down another route of is sports going to go trending more towards club sports, or is high school sports or school sports going to be a thing? So let's wrap up here, and we'll get ready for another episode. Got some rapid
how far
fire.
Are we in?
Yeah, we're only an hour in right now, but we're going to take a break here, catch our breath, get a drink real quick, and we'll be back with another episode here in just a few minutes.